Radio frequency scanner hidden in Caleb Dorn's garage workshop crackled to life at 11:47 p.m., capturing an encrypted VoIP packet that wasn't meant for him. The digital static resolved into voices, one he recognized with chilling clarity. For 13 years as a defense contractor and 8 before that with Delta Force, Caleb had learned to trust his instincts. Tonight, those instincts screamed danger with the intensity of incoming artillery. He'd been calibrating surveillance equipment for the FBI's Cyber Ops division when the signal bounced off his antenna array. The transmission came from inside his own house, a fact that should have been impossible given his security protocols. Standard procedure would be to forward encrypted intercepts to his handler, Agent Patricia Cross, for decryption, but something about the packet's origin point made him pause. The signal signature matched Vanessa's smartphone. The packet decoded in 43 seconds using NSA-grade decryption algorithms. Vanessa's voice emerged from the static, whisper soft but crystal clear. "He'll run. Insurance is millions. Make it look like an accident tonight." A pause. Background noise that sounded like traffic, someone breathing heavily. "The cabin will work perfectly. Cliffside location, 100-foot drop, one push, and it's over. No witnesses, no evidence." Another voice, male, older, with a slight East Coast accent. "You absolutely sure about this? Once we move forward, there's no going back. This isn't some insurance claim dispute. This is elimination." "I'm completely sure. He won't suspect anything. I've been the perfect wife for 6 years. He trusts me completely. The man would walk into hell if I asked him to." A bitter laugh from the male voice. "In a way, he will be." "How quickly can we expect the payout?" "Standard processing is 30 days, but with your husband's profile, military contractor, dangerous occupation, insurance companies expedite. 2 weeks maximum. Then we split it and disappear." "What about the boy?" "Tyler? He's 17, not our problem after this. Send him to boarding school or foster care. With $4.8 million, you can afford to make problems go away." The line went dead with a soft click. Caleb stared at the frequency display, his hands perfectly steady, despite the adrenaline surge coursing through his system. 38 years old, former special operations with classified deployment history across 3 continents. Current deep cover asset for federal counterintelligence operations. And apparently, married to a woman actively planning his termination for financial gain. The implications crystallized with brutal clarity. This wasn't a crime of passion or a desperate act. This was premeditated conspiracy involving forged documents, coordinated timing, and professional execution. Someone had been studying him, learning his patterns, identifying vulnerabilities. He powered down the equipment with methodical precision, ensuring no electronic traces remained, then walked back to the house where warm light spilled from the kitchen windows. The smell of roasted chicken drifted across the backyard, mixing with the scent of rosemary from Vanessa's herb garden. Everything appeared normal, domestic, peaceful, the perfect cover for planning cold-blooded elimination. Vanessa stood at the stove, auburn hair pulled back in a casual ponytail, wearing the blue dress he'd bought her for their 6th anniversary just 2 months ago. She hummed softly while stirring gravy, the picture of contentment. Her wedding ring caught the light as she moved, the same ring he'd placed on her finger in a beachside ceremony, promising to love and protect her forever. "Dinner's ready, sweetheart," she called, turning with that radiant smile that had convinced him to leave the shadows and try normal life. "I made your favorite, herb-crusted chicken with garlic potatoes." The same smile she'd worn while discussing his elimination minutes earlier. "Smells incredible," he replied, kissing her cheek with practiced affection. Her skin felt cold despite the warm kitchen. "You went all out tonight?" "I wanted it to be special. We don't get enough quiet evenings together." Tyler looked up from his phone at the dining table, earbuds dangling around his neck. At 17, Vanessa's son from her previous marriage had grown distant lately, arriving home late, avoiding family dinners, spending hours locked in his room. Caleb had attributed it to typical teenage rebellion combined with the natural awkwardness of having a stepfather. Now he wondered what the boy actually knew about his mother's plans. "How was work today?" Vanessa asked, serving the chicken with deliberate care. "Boring contract stuff, reviewing specifications for naval communication systems. Nothing too exciting." He watched her face for micro-expressions, noting the slight tension around her eyes. "How about you? Busy day at the insurance office?" "The usual chaos. Claims investigations, depositions, paperwork that never ends." She touched his hand with what appeared to be genuine affection. "Actually, I had an idea. I thought we could take that weekend trip we talked about last month. I found this perfect cabin rental near Lake Arrowhead. Very romantic, completely private. Caleb's tactical training kicked in automatically. Micro expressions, body language analysis, vocal stress patterns, timing correlation with the intercepted communication. Every detail painted the same picture. She was lying about something significant, and the timing of her suggestion wasn't coincidental. "Sounds romantic," he said, keeping his voice neutral. "When were you thinking?" "This weekend. I already took the liberty of booking it. Cliffside view, very private. No neighbors for miles. Just us and nature." Her smile faltered slightly. "You don't mind that I went ahead and made reservations, do you?" "Of course not. You know I trust your judgment completely." The irony of those words settled like lead in his stomach. Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his chair, avoiding eye contact. The teenager knew something. His body language screamed discomfort and suppressed knowledge. After dinner, Vanessa headed upstairs for her nightly shower ritual, claiming she needed to wash off the stress of the day. Caleb cleared the table with mechanical precision, listening to the water running overhead while calculating his next moves. Every instinct honed by years of covert operations told him to gather intelligence before acting. He slipped into her home office, a converted bedroom filled with insurance files, legal documents, and her work laptop. The computer was password protected, but he'd installed keyloggers months ago as part of his standard security protocols, never imagining he'd need them to investigate his own wife. Her recent browser history made his blood freeze. Accidental passing insurance payouts, how long do drowning investigations take, spousal life insurance claim processing times, hiking accident statistics California, Lake Arrowhead emergency response times. Each search was methodical, professional, thorough. This wasn't impulse. This was research. He photographed the screen with his encrypted phone, then accessed her email through the keylogger data. What he found confirmed his worst fears. Correspondence with someone named A.T. discussing weekend plans and final preparations. The emails were carefully coded, but the meaning was clear. One message from 3 days ago read, "Package confirmed. Delivery scheduled for Saturday evening. Clean extraction guaranteed." Another from yesterday. "Weather forecast perfect. Clear skies, no complications expected. Payment processing ready." Caleb returned to the kitchen as water stopped running upstairs, his mind racing through tactical options. Confrontation would be premature without more intelligence. Running would confirm their suspicions and endanger Tyler. But playing along meant walking into a carefully planned trap. At midnight, after Vanessa fell asleep beside him, her breathing deep and regular, one arm draped across his chest in a gesture that had once comforted him, Caleb slipped out of bed and stepped onto the back patio. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of jasmine from their neighbor's garden. He dialed a number that fewer than 50 people in the United States possessed. Cross. Overwatch. This is Phantom. Requesting immediate off-book surveillance support. Code Black authorization. Agent Patricia Cross had worked federal counterintelligence for 15 years, rising through the ranks by successfully managing assets in hostile environments. Her voice sharpened with professional concern. "Caleb? It's past midnight. What's your situation?" "Code Black scenario confirmed. Potential asset compromise at highest level. My location is hot." "Repeat, my location is hot." A pause that lasted exactly 3 seconds. Cross-processing implications at light speed. "Jesus Christ, what do you need?" "Full domestic surveillance package. Primary target is my wife, Vanessa Dorn, age 38, insurance investigator with Meridian Claims Processing. Secondary target unknown male, approximately 40 to 45 years old, possible handler or control agent. I have voice samples and preliminary evidence of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud and planned elimination." "Elimination? Your wife is trying to—" "Confirmed. I intercepted encrypted communication indicating planned termination this weekend. Insurance payout mentioned at $4.8 million. They're attempting to lure me to a remote location, Lake Arrowhead area, cliffside rental property." "What's the timeline?" "She's trying to get me to the cabin this Friday through Sunday. Isolated location, 100-foot cliff drop, perfect for staging an accidental passing. They've been planning this for months, possibly longer." Cross's training kicked in. "Okay, stay calm and maintain operational security. We'll get full surveillance teams in position by 800 hours, audio monitoring, vehicle tracking, communications intercept, the complete package. Under no circumstances should you tip your hand or deviate from normal behavior patterns. Can you maintain cover for 48 hours? Roger that. Operation designation, Widowmaker. Copy Phantom. One more thing. If she's planning what you think, she's definitely not working alone. This sounds like organized conspiracy, possibly involving multiple targets. Watch yourself and trust no one except direct contact through secure channels. Caleb ended the call and looked back at the house where his wife slept peacefully, dreaming of his demise and the millions of dollars his end would bring. Tomorrow would begin the most dangerous undercover operation of his career, infiltrating his own marriage. The next morning felt like living inside a carefully constructed lie. Vanessa made coffee and scrambled eggs while humming the melody from their wedding dance, her movements graceful and apparently carefree. Tyler grabbed a granola bar and bolted for school without speaking, his backpack slung over one shoulder, avoiding all eye contact. Everything appeared normal, except for the micro-surveillance devices Caleb had planted throughout the house while she slept. Devices so small they resembled dust particles but could capture conversations from 50 feet away. "I'm so excited about our trip," Vanessa said, wrapping her arms around his waist as he read the morning newspaper. Her perfume was the same vanilla and jasmine scent he'd grown to associate with home and safety. "It's been too long since we had real alone time." "Me too. Anything special you want to do up there besides hiking?" He kept his voice casual while noting the slight tremor in her hands. "Maybe we could practice some of those survival skills you're always talking about. You know, outdoor cooking, navigation, emergency procedures." Her laugh sounded forced, artificial. "You always said you wanted to show me how to handle myself in the wilderness." The double meaning hit him like a physical blow. She was literally asking him to teach her how to stage his own demise. FBI surveillance teams took positions throughout their suburban neighborhood by 9 a.m., coordinated from a mobile command center disguised as a cable repair van. Agent Cross directed operations from inside, while technicians monitored electronic communications. Caleb's earpiece crackled softly as he drove to his cover job at Meridian Defense Contracting, a legitimate defense firm that provided cover for his FBI activities. "Phantom, target is mobile. Blue Toyota Camry, license plate 7G8H4F2, heading downtown on Interstate 5. Visual confirmation on driver." Caleb spent the morning reviewing legitimate contracts for naval communication systems, while monitoring the audio feeds from his house through encrypted channels. The surveillance revealed a disturbing pattern. Vanessa made no fewer than 6 phone calls between 9:30 and 11 a.m., each to different numbers, each conversation lasting exactly 3 minutes. At 11:30, she made the call that confirmed his worst fears. "It's me." He agreed to the trip without suspicion. Friday through Sunday, exactly as we planned. Male voice, the same accent from last night. "Outstanding. The insurance policy is active and confirmed. 4.8 million, double indemnity for accidental passing. Your husband's signature was processed last Tuesday." Caleb's blood turned to ice. They'd not only planned his passing, they'd forged his signature on an insurance policy he'd never seen. "How did you manage the signature verification?" "You'd be amazed what people sign when they trust their insurance agent completely. Your husband believes he was updating his contractor's liability coverage. Standard procedure for his security clearance level." "And the accident scene?" "Hiking fall, rocky terrain, head trauma consistent with a 100-foot drop. No witnesses, no cell phone coverage, delayed discovery. Clean and simple, exactly like the others." "The others?" "This isn't our first rodent extermination, sweetheart. We've perfected the process. 3 successful operations over the past 18 months, each worth over $3 million. Veterans and contractors make perfect targets. Dangerous occupations, high-value life insurance, trusting personalities." Caleb gripped his desk so hard the wood creaked. They weren't just planning his elimination. They were serial operatives who had already succeeded multiple times. "What about Tyler? He's been asking questions." "The kid knows enough to stay quiet. We had a conversation last week. He understands the consequences of creating problems." "You threatened my son?" "I educated him about the benefits of discretion. 17-year-old boys are remarkably practical when properly motivated." The call ended abruptly. Caleb immediately contacted Agent Cross through secure channels. "We need voice analysis on the male subject immediately. Priority alpha classification. And I want a complete investigation of that insurance policy. Already running voice recognition through federal databases. Initial results in 20 minutes. What else did you hear?" "They've eliminated other targets. At least 3 operations over 18 months, each worth over $3 million. This is organized crime with federal implications." "Son of a witch. We're dealing with serial fraud and conspiracy." I'm escalating this to the director level and requesting joint task force authorization. Agent Cross, they threatened Tyler, a 17-year-old boy. Whatever resources you need, get them. Understood. Voice analysis just came back. Your male target is Alan Trask, 41, owner of Pinnacle Security Insurance, incorporated in Delaware with offices in San Diego and Las Vegas. Specializes in high-value policies for military contractors and government employees. Caleb felt pieces clicking into place. He's been systematically targeting people in my profession, using their security clearances and dangerous occupations as cover for staged accidents. Gets worse. Preliminary investigation shows his company has paid out 11 suspicious claims over the past 3 years. Each involved high-value policies on military contractors, defense employees, or veterans. Each passing was ruled accidental. 11 people. Jesus Christ, Patricia. How many families have they destroyed? We're getting federal warrants for Trask's business records, financial statements, and communication logs. This is now a federal racketeering investigation. Keep playing along, but understand, these people are professional operatives with multiple successful eliminations. They will not hesitate to escalate if they suspect exposure. That evening, Caleb reviewed surveillance footage that Agent Cross had transmitted through encrypted channels. The images were devastating. Vanessa meeting Trask at an upscale restaurant downtown, their hands intertwined across the table like lovers planning a future together. Her kissing him passionately in the parking garage, her body pressed against his with obvious closeness. The way they touched, whispered, laughed, everything spoke of a deep, established relationship. His wife of 6 years was not only planning his termination, she was having a passionate affair with his would-be assassin, and they'd been intimate for months. Tyler walked into the kitchen as Caleb studied the images on his encrypted tablet, trying to process the scope of betrayal. "What's that?" the teenager asked, his voice carefully neutral. Caleb closed the device immediately. "Work stuff. Surveillance reports for a contract evaluation. How was school today?" Tyler shrugged, grabbing a soda from the refrigerator with practiced teenager indifference. "Fine, I guess. Same boring classes, same boring people." "Tyler, is everything okay? You've seemed distant lately, and I'm concerned about you." The boy's face went pale and his hands trembled slightly as he opened the soda can. "I don't know what you mean. If something's bothering you, anything at all, you can talk to me. I'm here for you, regardless of what anyone else might say or threaten." Tyler stared at him for a long moment, internal conflict evident in his young features. Fear, loyalty, confusion, and something that looked like desperate hope warred across his face. "Mom said—" He stopped, swallowing hard. "She said you might have to go away for work, for a really long time, maybe permanently." "Did she? When did she tell you this?" "Last week. She said we shouldn't get too attached because military guys like you, they don't stick around. They go on dangerous missions and sometimes they don't come back." Caleb felt a surge of protective rage at how Vanessa had psychologically manipulated the boy, poisoning their relationship while planning ultimate betrayal. Tyler wasn't just collateral damage. He was being emotionally prepared for his stepfather's disappearance. "Tyler, I want you to know something, and I need you to remember it no matter what happens. I love you like my own son. I'm not going anywhere unless someone forces me to. And if that happens, I'll fight like hell to get back to you. That's a promise." Tears welled in Tyler's eyes, the first genuine emotion he'd shown in weeks. "Really? You mean that?" "Really. I've never lied to you, and I won't start now. Whatever happens this weekend, remember that conversation. Remember that someone cares about you enough to fight for you." Tyler nodded, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "There's something I should tell you. Mom's been acting really weird lately. Secretive phone calls, meetings with some guy I've never seen before. And she's been asking me strange questions about insurance and what I'd do if something happened to you." "What kind of questions?" "Like, would I be okay living somewhere else? Would I want to travel, see the world?" She said, "We might have opportunities to do things we never imagined possible." The manipulation was even deeper than he'd realized. Vanessa had been grooming Tyler for months, preparing him psychologically for his stepfather's elimination and the windfall that would follow. "Tyler, has anyone else talked to you about this? Anyone threatened you or made you feel unsafe?" The boy hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Last week, some guy came to school during lunch. He said he was a friend of Mom's and that I should be careful about what I say to people. He said families who stick together get rewarded, but families who cause problems, Don't. Can you describe this man? Older, maybe 40, dark hair, expensive suit. He knew things about me, my classes, my friends, where I hang out after school. It was really creepy. Alan Trask had personally threatened a 17-year-old boy to ensure operational security. These people were ruthless professionals who viewed human life as obstacles to profit. Tyler, I need you to do something for me. This weekend, I want you to stay with your friend Jake's family. Tell them your mom and I are going on a romantic getaway and you need somewhere to crash. Is something bad going to happen? Caleb looked into the boy's eyes and made a decision that violated every operational security protocol he'd ever learned. I can't give you details, but yes, something is going to happen this weekend. I need you safe and away from here. Are you and Mom getting divorced? That's complicated. But whatever happens between your mother and me, it won't change how I feel about you. You're my son in every way that matters, and I'll protect you no matter what the cost. Tyler hugged him with desperate intensity, clinging like a drowning person to a life preserver. I love you, Dad. The word hit Caleb like a physical blow. Tyler had never called him Dad before, always Caleb or my mom's husband. Now, facing the potential loss of the only stable father figure he'd ever known, the boy was finally expressing his true feelings. I love you too, son. More than you'll ever know. Friday morning arrived gray and overcast, with thick clouds promising rain later in the day. Vanessa packed their bags with unusual enthusiasm, humming as she folded clothes and toiletries into a weekend duffel bag. She'd selected her wardrobe carefully: hiking boots, outdoor gear, and a red jacket that would photograph well for potential news coverage. The weather forecast looks perfect for tomorrow, she said, checking her phone repeatedly. Clear skies, great visibility for hiking and photography. I can't wait to capture some memories of our time together. The phrase, capture some memories, carried chilling significance given what Caleb now knew about her true intentions. Caleb had spent Thursday night reviewing topographical maps of the Lake Arrowhead area with Agent Cross and a team of tactical specialists. The cabin Vanessa had rented sat on a cliff overlooking the lake, accessible only by a narrow mountain road with limited escape routes. The location was tactically perfect for an ambush. Isolated, no cell phone coverage, emergency response times exceeding 40 minutes. I can't wait to get away from everything, he said, loading their gear into the car while surreptitiously checking the GPS tracking devices Agent Cross had installed. Just us, nature, and no distractions. Tyler appeared on the front porch with his overnight bag, preparing to leave for Jake's house. The boy hugged Caleb goodbye with unusual intensity, whispering in his ear, "Be careful, Dad. Come back to me." "Always," Caleb whispered back. "That's a promise." The drive to Lake Arrowhead took 2.5 hours through winding mountain roads that grew progressively more isolated. Vanessa chatted nervously about work, weekend plans, and future travel dreams, but Caleb noted every detail: how she kept checking her phone despite no cellular coverage, her elevated heart rate visible in her pulse points, the way she gripped the steering wheel when they passed potential turnoff points. "I'm so glad we're doing this," she said as they climbed higher into the mountains. "We need more spontaneous adventures in our lives." Spontaneous was hardly the word for months of careful planning and coordination. The cabin was exactly as advertised in the rental listing: rustic timber construction, panoramic windows facing the lake, and a deck that extended dramatically over a 100-foot cliff. The drop was sheer granite, perfect for ensuring that any accidental fall would be definitively fatal. "It's absolutely beautiful," Vanessa said, kissing his cheek as they stood on the deck. "Just like I imagined when I saw the photos online." Caleb had arrived with more than hiking gear and romantic intentions. Hidden in his duffel bag were motion sensors, audio pickups, infrared cameras, and communication equipment. Enough surveillance technology to document whatever was planned and maintain contact with FBI backup teams positioned 5 miles away. While Vanessa unpacked in the bedroom, making exclamations about the romantic ambiance, Caleb strategically placed monitoring devices around the cabin. Micro cameras went behind picture frames. Audio pickups attached to light fixtures, motion sensors covered all approaches to the building. "I thought we could explore the hiking trails this afternoon," she suggested, appearing in the doorway wearing form-fitting outdoor gear. "Get familiar with the terrain before tomorrow's big adventure." "Actually, I'm a bit tired from the drive. How about we relax on the deck, maybe open that bottle of wine you packed?" Disappointment flashed across her features before she recovered her composure. "Of course, sweetheart, whatever you want." We have all weekend for outdoor activities. That evening, they grilled steaks on the deck while the sun set over the lake in spectacular display of orange and purple. Vanessa's phone buzzed repeatedly despite the supposed lack of coverage, but she ignored it with theatrical dedication to their romantic evening. Popular tonight, Caleb observed, noting the signal strength indicator on her device. Just work emergencies. I told them not to bother us unless someone was literally dying. The irony of her word choice was probably unintentional. I want this weekend to be perfect for us. At 10 p.m., Caleb excused himself to use the bathroom and checked his encrypted communication device. 3 messages from Agent Cross painted an increasingly dangerous picture. Trask departed San Diego 1800 hours. Vehicle tracking shows mountain route toward your location. Mountain highway cameras confirmed his vehicle at mile marker 47. ETA your location 2330 hours. Additional vehicle detected following similar route. Unknown occupants. You may be facing multiple hostiles. Teams positioned but cannot approach without compromising operation. You're solo until they make aggressive moves. Caleb returned to find Vanessa pouring wine with hands that trembled almost imperceptibly. The bottle was the expensive Cabernet they'd received as a wedding gift, symbolic of their marriage being sacrificed for money. Everything okay? He asked, accepting the glass she offered. Perfect. I was just thinking about how much I love you, how much our relationship means to me. She touched his face gently, her wedding ring cool against his skin. Sometimes I wonder what my life would have been like without you. I love you too. The words felt like ash in his mouth, but operational discipline demanded he maintain cover. They sat on the couch inside the cabin. Vanessa cuddled against his chest in a position that had once brought him comfort. Now she felt tense, like a coiled spring waiting to release. Her breathing was rapid and shallow, her skin temperature elevated despite the cool mountain air. At 11:45, headlights swept across the cabin windows. Were you expecting someone? Caleb asked, though he already knew the answer. Vanessa sat up quickly, genuine surprise on her face. No, of course not. Probably just someone using the turnaround area. These mountain roads can be confusing at night. The headlights disappeared, but Caleb's motion sensors detected movement in the surrounding woods. Someone, possibly multiple someones, was approaching on foot, using the trees for concealment. I'm going to check outside, he said, standing and stretching casually. No. Vanessa grabbed his arm with more force than necessary. It's probably just deer or other wildlife. Mountain animals are active at night. Come back to bed. I have something special planned for us. You go ahead and get ready. I'll just take a quick look and be right there. In the bedroom, Vanessa made exaggerated preparations for sleep while Caleb monitored the infrared feed on his hidden communication device. 3 figures in dark clothing were circling the cabin, studying the layout and identifying potential entry points. They moved with military precision, suggesting professional training. At 12:30 a.m., Caleb heard the deck door handle turn slowly. He'd been waiting in the shadows of the living room, night vision equipment revealing every detail in green-tinted clarity. Alan Trask entered first, moving like someone who'd studied the cabin's layout extensively. He wore tactical black clothing, carried what appeared to be a serrated combat knife, and moved with the confidence of someone who'd done this before. Behind him came 2 additional figures, a tall man with a shoulder holster and a compact woman carrying what looked like medical supplies, probably to stage post-mortem evidence consistent with an accidental fall. Trask crept toward the bedroom, where he expected to find Caleb sleeping peacefully beside his loving wife. Instead, he found a carefully arranged dummy under the covers, complete with a realistic silicone head and appropriately sized body. Looking for someone? Caleb's voice came from directly behind him. Trask spun, raising the knife instinctively. In the green-tinted darkness, Caleb could see the terror in his eyes as he realized his careful plan had collapsed. Who the hell are you? Trask hissed, though his voice suggested he already knew. Alan Trask, 41 years old, owner of Pinnacle Security Insurance. Also, my wife's lover and would-be assassin. Did you really think you could enter my home without me knowing? Trask lunged with the knife, a desperate attack that showed more panic than skill. Caleb sidestepped with fluid precision, grabbed Trask's wrist, and applied focused pressure to the ulnar nerve cluster. The weapon clattered to the wooden floor. You're 37% body fat and probably haven't been in a real fight since middle school, Caleb said conversationally, maintaining his grip. I've neutralized trained combatants underwater while holding my breath for 4 minutes. This won't take long. Trask threw a wild punch with his free hand. Caleb deflected it effortlessly and drove a precise elbow strike into his solar plexus. Trask doubled over, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Vanessa, Trask wheezed. Help me. This wasn't the plan. She can't hear you. Mild sedative in the wine. She'll sleep peacefully for several hours while we have our conversation. The two accomplices had retreated when they heard the commotion, apparently following protocols for operational security. Professionals always had escape plans. Caleb grabbed Trask by the throat and lifted him against the wall with one hand. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to confess everything. The insurance fraud, the planned elimination, how many other people you've terminated, the complete scope of your operation. All of it. Go straight to hell, Trask spat, though his voice lacked conviction. Caleb applied measured pressure to his carotid artery until Trask's vision started to fade, then released. I have complete recordings of your conversations with my wife. Voice analysis has already confirmed your identity. The FBI is building a federal racketeering case that will put you away for consecutive life sentences. Your only choice is cooperation or complications. You're bluffing. You can't prove anything. Caleb pulled out his phone and played the recorded conversation from earlier. This isn't our first rodent extermination, sweetheart. We've perfected the process. 3 successful operations over the past 18 months, each worth over $3 million. Trask's resistance crumbled like wet cardboard. It was her idea originally. Vanessa approached me 6 months ago, said she wanted out of her marriage but needed financial security. The insurance angle was just business opportunity. How many others have you eliminated? 3 confirmed eliminations. Maybe 4. I don't handle all operational details personally. Names. Johnson, the Navy contractor from Norfolk. Williams from Raytheon in Boston. Martinez from Lockheed in Texas. All veterans, all trusting, all profitable. Caleb memorized each name while restraining Trask with zip ties from his tactical kit. 3 families destroyed. 3 men eliminated for money. 3 widows who had no idea their husbands were targets. The 4th, Peterson, Air Force contractor in Nevada. That one was complicated. His wife figured out something was wrong and called the police. We had to terminate and relocate. So you moved your operation here. California has better legal protections for insurance payouts. Less investigation, more privacy laws. At 3 a.m., Vanessa stumbled out of the bedroom, still groggy from the wine, but coherent enough to recognize disaster when she saw it. Caleb? What's happening? Why is Alan? She stopped mid-sentence, seeing Trask bound and bloodied on the floor. Hello, sweetheart? Enjoying our romantic getaway? Vanessa's face cycled through confusion, fear, calculation, and finally desperate manipulation. I can explain everything. This isn't what it looks like. Please do. I'm fascinated to hear how you rationalize conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, attempted elimination, and accessory to multiple homicides. You don't understand our situation. Alan and I were in love. We never intended for things to go this far. Caleb pulled out his phone and played the recorded conversation from yesterday. He'll run. Insurance is millions. Make it look like an accident tonight. Vanessa went pale as her own voice filled the cabin. How did you get that recording? I intercept encrypted communications for a living, remember? Did you really think I wouldn't notice when someone targeted me for elimination? Caleb, please, we can work this out. Just let us go and we'll disappear. You'll never see us again. And what happens to the next target? The next veteran who trusts his wife? The next family destroyed for insurance money? That's not our problem. It became my problem when you decided to make me a sufferer. Headlights illuminated the cabin windows as FBI tactical teams finally moved in. Agent Cross had been monitoring the situation through Caleb's hidden cameras, waiting for sufficient evidence to justify federal intervention. FBI, this is a federal raid. Open the door immediately. Vanessa ran for the back exit, probably following an escape plan she and Trask had rehearsed. Caleb caught her easily, restraining her with the same zip ties he'd used on her lover. Let me go. She screamed, struggling against the restraints. This is domestic violence. I'll have you arrested for attack. For stopping my own attempted elimination? Good luck explaining that to a federal prosecutor. The FBI tactical team secured the scene within minutes, their movements precise and professional. Agent Cross examined the evidence while her agents read Trask and Vanessa their rights according to federal procedures. Outstanding work, Phantom, Cross said quietly, reviewing the recorded conversations and surveillance footage. We've got them on conspiracy, fraud, attempted elimination, and racketeering. This evidence will hold up in any federal court. What about the other cases Trask mentioned? Johnson, Williams, Martinez? already coordinating with field offices in Norfolk, Boston, and Texas. We'll investigate every claim his company has paid out over the past 5 years. This could break open the largest insurance fraud conspiracy in federal history. As they loaded Vanessa into the FBI vehicle, she turned back to Caleb with tears streaming down her face, mascara creating dark tracks on her cheeks. I did love you, you know. At the beginning, it was real. Caleb looked at her with the cold professionalism of someone who'd survived countless betrayals. I was the only one who ever meant it. The San Diego County Superior Court became a media circus within hours of the arrests. Wife plots husband's elimination for insurance millions, screamed the morning headlines across national newspapers. Decorated veteran escapes end trap, followed in the afternoon editions, accompanied by photographs of Caleb in his dress uniform and wedding pictures that now seemed obscene given the circumstances. Caleb hired Rebecca Walsh, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Southern California and a specialist in high-stakes marital litigation. At 52, Walsh had never lost a case involving military personnel, and her reputation for destroying opposing counsel in cross-examination was legendary throughout the legal community. They're going to play the domestic violence card immediately, Walsh warned during their initial strategy session in her downtown office. Classic defense strategy when wives are caught in criminal behavior. Paint you as a dangerous, unstable veteran suffering from PTSD who drove your poor wife to desperate measures through systematic psychological and physical coercion. Let them try. I have complete audio recordings of their conspiracy. Recordings can be dismissed as entrapment or illegal surveillance depending on how they were obtained. We need more character witnesses, financial documentation, evidence of long-term premeditation, proof that she was the primary conspirator rather than a manipulated sufferer. Agent Cross provided extensive FBI resources for the civil litigation, while federal prosecutors simultaneously built their criminal charges. The insurance fraud investigation had expanded dramatically, revealing suspicious passings across 7 states involving policies worth over $30 million. Pinnacle Security Insurance was emerging as the front for the most sophisticated elimination-for-profit scheme in modern American history. Vanessa's defense team, led by celebrity attorney Marcus Rothschild, a man known for representing wealthy defendants in high-profile criminal cases, immediately filed counter-accusations that painted Caleb as the real villain. Domestic violence, psychological terrorism, unlawful surveillance, entrapment, and manipulation of evidence. Mr. Dorn is a trained federal operative with classified skills in psychological manipulation and lethal force, Rothschild told a packed press conference outside the courthouse. He has the training, resources, and professional expertise to fabricate any evidence he chooses. My client is the true sufferer here, a woman trapped in an abusive marriage with a dangerous man who used his government connections to frame her for crimes she never committed. The divorce proceedings began 3 weeks after the arrests, with Caleb seeking full custody of Tyler, complete forfeiture of all marital assets, and maximum punitive damages for attempted fraud and conspiracy. The courtroom was packed with reporters, legal observers, and federal agents monitoring the proceedings for potential impact on the criminal cases. Walsh opened with devastating legal precision that left no room for sympathy or misinterpretation. Your Honor, this case represents one of the most premeditated betrayals in modern legal history. Mrs. Dorn didn't just plan to end her marriage through conventional divorce proceedings. She orchestrated an elaborate conspiracy to end her husband's life for financial gain, while simultaneously conducting an extramarital affair with her co-conspirator. She played the intercepted communications through the courtroom's audio system, each word echoing off the walls with damning clarity. The effect on the gallery was immediate. Gasps, whispered comments, and the soft clicking of reporters' keyboards capturing every detail. He'll run. Insurance is millions. Make it look like an accident tonight. The cabin will work perfectly. Cliffside location, 100-foot drop. One push, and it's over. Walsh then presented the forged insurance documents, detailed phone records showing hundreds of calls between Vanessa and Trask over 8 months, and credit card statements documenting their affair. This wasn't a crime of passion or momentary desperation, Walsh continued. This was systematic, professional conspiracy involving forged documents, staged accidents, and premeditated elimination. Mrs. Dorn spent months studying her husband's habits, identifying his vulnerabilities, and coordinating with professional criminals to stage his passing. Rothschild's counter-strategy involved attacking Caleb's credibility and mental stability. Your Honor, my client married a man who presented himself as a peaceful defense contractor working on mundane government projects. In reality, she was unknowingly cohabitating with a federal agent trained in psychological manipulation, surveillance techniques, and lethal force. The stress of discovering her husband's true identity, combined with his increasingly paranoid and controlling behavior, drove her to seek emotional support elsewhere. Emotional support that included planning his elimination for insurance money? Walsh fired back immediately. Alleged planning based on illegally obtained recordings and fabricated evidence. We maintain that all so-called evidence was manufactured through sophisticated government surveillance techniques designed to entrap an innocent woman. Tyler's testimony devastated Vanessa's defense completely. The 17-year-old took the stand with quiet dignity that impressed even the most jaded court observers, describing months of his mother's increasingly erratic behavior in detail that no coaching could have produced. She started talking about money differently, Tyler said, his voice steady despite the emotional weight of testifying against his mother. Instead of worrying about bills or college expenses, she talked about traveling the world, buying whatever we wanted, never having to worry about finances again. Did she explain where this money would come from? Walsh asked gently. She said Dad had substantial life insurance through his work, policies that would take care of us if anything happened to him. She said sometimes people in dangerous jobs have accidents, and their families receive financial compensation that allows them to start new lives. How did that make you feel? Tyler looked directly at Vanessa, his eyes reflecting hurt and betrayal that cut deeper than any legal argument. Scared, like she was hoping something bad would happen to him, like she was planning for his passing instead of trying to prevent it. Did anyone else discuss these topics with you? A man came to my school one day. He said he was a friend of Mom's and that families who cooperate get rewarded, but families who create problems face consequences. He knew personal details about my life, my schedule, my friends, where I spent time after school. It felt like a threat. Rothschild's cross-examination backfired spectacularly, revealing his complete misunderstanding of military family dynamics. Tyler, isn't it true that your stepfather trained you in weapons handling and combat techniques? He taught me tool safety, basic self-defense, and emergency preparedness. He said every young man should know how to protect himself and his family if circumstances required it. Didn't that seem excessive? Training a minor in potentially lethal skills? No, sir. He was preparing me to be responsible and capable. He wanted me to be able to protect my mother and myself if he couldn't be there. Unlike some people, he actually cared about our safety. The judge gavelled down Rothschild's objection to Tyler's editorial comment, but the damage was done. Financial records presented by Walsh revealed the scope of Vanessa's deception. Her affair with Trask had been ongoing for 8 months, involving expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry purchases, and weekend trips to Las Vegas and San Francisco. Phone records documented over 400 calls between them, often lasting an hour or more, frequently occurring while Caleb was traveling for legitimate work assignments. Mrs. Dorn spent more money on her extramarital relationship than most families spend on housing, Walsh noted, presenting credit card statements. She purchased jewelry worth $12,000, spent $18,000 on hotel accommodations, and charged $24,000 to restaurants and entertainment, all while maintaining the facade of a devoted wife concerned about family. Finances. The criminal trial proceeded simultaneously with the divorce litigation, creating a media spectacle that dominated local and national news coverage. Federal prosecutors charged both Vanessa and Trask with conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, attempted homicide, racketeering, and mail fraud. The evidence was overwhelming and professionally documented. Trask's attorney immediately began plea negotiations, recognizing that his client faced life sentences under federal guidelines. His cooperation revealed the true scope of their criminal enterprise, targeting military contractors, defense employees, and veterans with substantial life insurance policies, then staging accidents that would trigger maximum payouts with minimal investigation. We specifically looked for men in dangerous professions who had trusting personalities and access to high-value insurance policies, Trask testified under oath, his voice barely audible in the packed courtroom. Veterans were ideal targets because they typically had life insurance through their military service, often supplemented by additional private policies for family protection. How many people did you and your conspirators eliminate? The federal prosecutor asked. 7 confirmed operations, possibly more. I wasn't involved in every operational detail, and the organization was compartmentalized for security. Describe the typical operation. We would identify targets through insurance industry contacts, research their personal lives, and habits, then arrange for female operatives to establish romantic relationships. The women would marry the targets, take out additional insurance policies, then coordinate elimination that appeared accidental. Was Mrs. Dorn typical of these female operatives? No, she was different. She approached us rather than being recruited. She was already married to a high-value target and wanted assistance maximizing the financial benefit of his elimination. Vanessa's defense strategy collapsed under the weight of evidence and Trask's cooperation. Audio recordings, financial documents, witness testimony, and forensic evidence left no room for reasonable doubt about her guilt or her role as the primary conspirator. Her final courtroom appearance was a study in complete defeat. Rothschild had abandoned most of his original strategy, instead focusing on minimizing her sentence through cooperation and expressions of remorse. Your Honor, my client recognizes the seriousness of her actions and accepts full responsibility for her poor judgment, Rothschild said during closing arguments. She became involved with dangerous criminals who exploited her emotional vulnerability and manipulated her into participating in their scheme. The federal prosecutor's response was immediate and devastating. Mrs. Dorn wasn't manipulated. She was the manipulator. She approached the criminal organization, provided the target, arranged the operational details, and coordinated the timing. She spent months psychologically preparing her own son for his stepfather's passing, while conducting an affair with the man who would eliminate him. This wasn't poor judgment, this was calculated evil. The verdicts came down on a cold Thursday morning in March, with gray clouds threatening rain and a crowd of reporters and legal observers packed into every available seat. Caleb sat in the front row of the gallery with Tyler and Agent Cross, watching as Judge Harrison prepared to read the decisions that would fundamentally reshape their lives. In the matter of Dorn versus Dorn, this court finds overwhelming and irrefutable evidence of fraud, conspiracy, attempted damage, and profound betrayal of marital trust, Judge Harrison began, his voice carrying the weight of 3 decades on the bench. Mrs. Dorn's actions represent not merely infidelity or financial disagreement, but systematic conspiracy to commit the ultimate betrayal possible within a marriage relationship. The divorce judgment was comprehensive and devastating. Caleb received full, legal and physical custody of Tyler, complete ownership of all marital assets, including their home, retirement accounts, and investments, plus punitive damages of $2.3 million representing the estimated value of emotional distress and attempted fraud. Vanessa was left with literally nothing except her legal debts and criminal liability. Furthermore, Judge Harrison continued, this court strongly recommends that the district attorney's office pursue additional criminal charges for perjury and obstruction of justice based on false testimony provided during these proceedings. Mrs. Dorn's attempts to manipulate this court through fabricated evidence and perjured testimony represent contempt for the legal system itself. The criminal verdicts followed immediately in the federal courtroom 1 floor above. Judge Patricia Kemp had presided over the federal case with stern efficiency, cutting through legal maneuvering to focus on the evidence itself. Trask received 28 years in federal prison without possibility of parole for racketeering, conspiracy to commit homicide, insurance fraud, and mail fraud. The sentence reflected his cooperation with authorities, but also the scope of his criminal enterprise and the number of sufferers involved. Vanessa received 15 years federal prison for conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, attempted homicide, and accessory to racketeering. Her sentence was reduced slightly due to her role as a recruited operative rather than the organization's leader, but Judge Kemp made clear that her crimes were particularly heinous due to the betrayal of family trust. Mrs. Dorn, you violated the most sacred bonds of marriage and family in pursuit of financial gain, Judge Kemp said during sentencing. You manipulated your own child, betrayed your husband's trust, and participated in a criminal conspiracy that destroyed multiple families across several states. The court finds no mitigating circumstances that excuse or minimize your calculated cruelty. As the bailiffs led Vanessa away in shackles and federal prison uniform, she broke down completely. The composed, manipulative woman who had spent months planning elimination was replaced by someone who finally understood the consequences of her choices. I loved you, Caleb, she screamed, makeup running down her face in dark streams. I really did love you at the beginning. Caleb stood and looked her directly in the eye, his voice carrying the cold finality of absolute judgment. I was the only one who ever meant it. The media frenzy reached its peak outside the courthouse. Reporters surrounded Caleb and Tyler as they descended the granite steps, microphones thrust forward and cameras capturing every moment. "Mr. Dorn, how does it feel to have justice served?" one reporter shouted above the crowd. Justice isn't about personal satisfaction. It's about protecting other families from experiencing what we've endured. Tyler gets the chance to grow up without his mother's manipulation and lies. Other families get protection from hunters who view human life as financial opportunity. The sense of personal vindication is secondary to those larger considerations. Will you continue working in defense contracting? I'll continue serving my country in whatever capacity provides the most value for protecting American families. And interests? My priorities have shifted toward stopping hunters like those we've exposed and ensuring that other veterans don't become sufferers of similar conspiracies. What's next for you and Tyler? We're going to build an honest life together. No more secrets, no more hidden agendas, no more looking over our shoulders. Just a father and son figuring out how to move forward from betrayal toward something better. 3 months later, Caleb and Tyler drove to the Pacific coast near their San Diego home, following Tyler's request to dispose of his mother's remaining belongings. The few items not seized as evidence or awarded to sufferers' families filled only a small cardboard box: jewelry, photographs, letters, and personal mementos that represented the lies they'd both believed. "You sure you're okay with this?" Caleb asked as they walked along the beach, waves crashing against the shore with rhythmic persistence. "Yeah, I need to let go of who I thought she was so I can accept who she actually turned out to be," Tyler replied, his voice steady with newfound maturity. "I can't keep hoping she was different." Tyler threw his mother's jewelry into the waves, each piece representing a different lie or manipulation. Her wedding ring went last, disappearing beneath the foam with symbolic finality. "I'm sorry she turned out to be someone completely different than you believed," Caleb said. "I'm not sorry anymore. If she had been who I thought, I wouldn't have gotten a real father out of the situation." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples while seabirds circled overhead. The ocean's vastness provided perspective that the courtroom couldn't, a reminder that their pain was part of something larger and that healing was possible. "What happens now?" Tyler asked. "Now we build something honest and lasting. No more secrets, no more hidden agendas, no more wondering who we can trust. Just us figuring out life together one day at a time." "Sounds perfect, Dad." The words still carried emotional weight, still represented something precious that had emerged from betrayal and attempted destruction. Agent Cross had offered Caleb a promotion to head the FBI's newly created Insurance Fraud Task Force, a position that would involve coordinating investigations of criminal networks like Trask's operation across multiple states. The work would be challenging and occasionally dangerous, but it offered the opportunity to protect other families from similar hunters. "I want to take the FBI promotion," Caleb told Tyler as they walked back toward their car. "The position involves hunting down people who target military families and veterans for financial exploitation." "The job where you track down bad guys who hurt families like ours?" "Exactly. It means some travel, some risks, and you'd have security details during certain operations. But it also means preventing other kids from going through what you've experienced." Tyler considered this with the seriousness of someone who'd been forced to mature rapidly. "Will you teach me more about what you do? Not classified information, but the basic skills for recognizing deception and protecting myself?" "If you want to learn those skills, absolutely." "I do. Someone in our family should know how to spot lies before they destroy everything." 2 years later, Agent Cross visited their home for a barbecue, celebrating Tyler's graduation from high school with honors and his acceptance to Georgetown, the university's criminology program. The boy had grown into a confident young man, with clear goals and realistic expectations about human nature. "Any regrets about how everything turned out?" Cross asked as they watched Tyler expertly managing the grill with focused concentration. "Only that I didn't recognize the deception sooner. The warning signs were present. I was just too trusting and too comfortable to see them clearly." Trust isn't weakness, Caleb. What Vanessa did was pure evil disguised as love. You gave her genuine affection and loyalty, and she perverted those gifts into weapons for manipulation and financial gain. The task force has prevented 11 additional operations similar to theirs over the past 2 years. That represents 11 families who still have their fathers, husbands, and providers. Those victories make the personal pain worthwhile. Tyler called them to dinner, his smile genuine and uncomplicated. He'd learned devastating lessons about deception and betrayal, but also about resilience, justice, and the possibility of building something better from the wreckage of lies. "Dad, tell Agent Cross about the Nevada case that made national news," Tyler said, serving perfectly grilled vegetables and steaks. "Most of that operation remains classified, son. The parts that were covered by CNN and the Washington Post aren't classified anymore." Caleb smiled at his son's logic. Fair point. As the evening progressed, Cross pulled Caleb aside for a private conversation about career advancement. "The director wants to offer you the assistant deputy position in Washington. It's a significant promotion with national responsibilities, but it would require relocating to the DC area. I'll discuss it with Tyler. His preferences and educational goals are as important as my career advancement. He's fortunate to have you as a father. We're fortunate to have each other. Blood relationships don't automatically create family bonds. Choice and commitment do. Vanessa taught me that lesson in the most painful way possible, but it was a valuable education." Later that evening, after Cross had departed and Tyler had finished his homework, they sat together on the deck overlooking their backyard. No cliffs, no isolated cabins, no deception, just suburban normalcy and the peaceful sounds of evening traffic and distant music. Caleb's phone buzzed with a text message from Tyler. "Got early admission to Georgetown. Criminology and criminal justice double major. Thought you should know first before I tell anyone else." Caleb smiled and typed back, "Extremely proud of you. We'll celebrate tomorrow with dinner wherever you choose. Think I can follow in your professional footsteps? You can choose any path that makes you happy and fulfilled. That's what real freedom means." A few minutes later, Tyler appeared on the deck with 2 cold sodas and a thoughtful expression. "Georgetown University is located in Washington, D.C., he said casually. "That's correct. Agent Cross mentioned a job opportunity there that would advance your career. She did mention that possibility. Sounds like destiny to me." Caleb looked at his son, because that's exactly what Tyler had become in every meaningful way, and felt something he'd lost during the betrayal and conspiracy. Genuine hope for the future unclouded by suspicion, manipulation, or hidden agendas. "Maybe it is destiny," he agreed. "Maybe this is exactly where we're supposed to be." They sat together as stars emerged in the clear sky, 2 survivors who discovered their way home to each other through the wreckage of lies, violence, and betrayal. In the distance, emergency sirens wailed. Someone else's crisis, someone else's emergency, someone else's pain. But here, in this moment, there existed only peace, security, and the promise of tomorrow. Vanessa had attempted to destroy them both for insurance money and personal gratification. Instead, her betrayal had forged them into something stronger than biological connection, deeper than legal marriage, and more enduring than any financial consideration. A family built on truth, tested by fire, and bound together by choice rather than obligation. The operation was complete. Widowmaker had failed catastrophically, and genuine love, honest love, tested love, chosen love, had triumphed absolutely.